Can I say no news? Put that back. Go. None whatsoever.
Good evening. My name is Tiffany Tilley. I'm a member of the State Board of Education and the director of the Southfield Community Anti-Drug Coalition. I am bringing you a candidates forum tonight with some of the candidates that I have endorsed for office. This includes candidates in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties. I am happy to have them here. I think they are all awesome people. And we have a couple that are up for re-election. We have a couple that are running for offices that they will be new to the office. They are going to be great elected officials. So I need you guys to listen in. I really want you to get a chance to get to know them, get to know about the candidates. I know a lot of times people see names and they have no idea who the person is. So pay close attention. If you have any questions, please post it in Facebook and we will try to get to some of the questions and definitely support these candidates. We are going to go in alphabetical order and then reverse with the questions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for their introduction and 3 minutes for the questions, and then 2 minutes for closing. The first candidate we have is Laurita Bledsoe. Why do you want to run for public office? I'm sorry, give me your introduction. Laurita Bledsoe. Laurita Bledsoe. Can you unmute?
Mute. Okay, sorry about that. I'm Laurita Bledsoe, and I'm running for the seat of trustee for Macomb Township. I'm a person of integrity and will demand accountability as your trustee. I will work towards making sure my constituents are informed with adequate, accurate information and be effectively implement those services and governing decisions. I will strategically and progressively strive for equity and equality, for economic and academic, social and technological advancement for my constituents, as well as affordable health care. I will also tackle the injustice criminal system, judicial system. So I want the judicial system to be just and equitable. That's it.
Thank you so much. And I was remiss in mentioning that Annalisa is joining us to keep our time. Thank you, Annalisa. State Rep Brenda Carter, please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. My name is Brenda Carter. I am the representative for the House District 29, which encompasses Auburn Hills, Kegel Harbor, Sylvan Lake, Orchard Lake Village, and Pontiac. I am a strong advocate for education, a fighter for education, and I want to continue the work that I've been doing.
Perfect. Thank you. Rebekah Coleman.
Good evening. My name is Rebekah Coleman. First, I want to thank Ms. Tilley for inviting me on this call today. I am running for judge of the 32A District Court here in Harper Woods. I promise to bring fairness and experience to the bench, and I am asking for you all support in the general election on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Melandie Hines.
Good evening. My name is Melandie Hines. I'm running for re-election for the Wayne Westland Board of Education. I've been a board member for 6 years. I love my community. I grew up in the district. I have a child in the district, and I believe in education, fair equity, and we have to make sure that we give our children the tools so they can succeed. I'm a very progressive Democrat. I'm on the 13th Congressional District Executive Team, chair of the Western Wayne County Black Caucus, And using those community resources, I've been able to really reach out to the community and make sure I'm giving my children the best education and tools that they can use to be successful citizens.
Thank you. Tonya Phillips.
Hi, Tiffany. Thanks for having me this evening. Thanks to all the viewers and all the candidates. My name is Tonya Myers Phillips, and I am running for state representative for District 4. I am running because I love my community, and I, like so many people, are hungry to see systemic change and reform. Now is the time. We are living in a global health pandemic. We cannot go back to the old ways. I'm an attorney. I've been fighting for social justice causes for 27 years now. I have the experience and I have the compassion to get the job done and to serve our community. So I want to go to Lansing. I want to continue picking up the legacy of our late Representative Isaac Robinson and really make sure our community gets the respect that we deserve to have in Lansing. And I want to fight for my community. Thank you.
Thank you. Rudy, Serra.
Good evening, Tiffany, and I want to thank you for this opportunity because it's very rare these days to get an opportunity to address any groups because of what's been going on with COVID-19. You may see on the screen Rudolph Serra, but I go by Rudy Serra. I'm an attorney and a former judge on the 36th District Court in the city of Detroit. I served 2.5 years on the third busiest trial court in the country. I'm running for judge on the 43rd District Court, which is Ferndale, Madison Heights, and Hazel Park. I moved back to the 43rd District about 12 years ago. The judge in Hazel Park very unexpectedly resigned his position. I never expected to be running for judge again, but I am eligible to serve one full term. I'm the only person in the race who's running who will have absolutely no pressure and no issues about running again, being popular, or ever raising money. You won't be hearing from me again. I'm also the only candidate in the race who's been endorsed by the Michigan Black Caucus, the Michigan Democratic Party Black Caucus, and the Justice Caucus. I would be proud to have the endorsement of any person that I see on this call. Once again, it's Rudy Serra. My website is rudyserraforjudge.com. And I thank you again, Tiffany, for the opportunity to be here. This is a prime example of dedication to education, lifelong education for everyone.
Thank you. Rudy, we are going to start with you for the first question. Why do you want to run for public office?
Well, Congressman John Lewis said, do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never be afraid to make some noise, to get in the way, to get in trouble, good trouble, necessary trouble. I'm a former judge and I've run for public office before. I know what it means to make trouble. I'm the only candidate in this race that sued an incumbent governor to force him to call an election in a vacated Detroit African-American House seat. I have the experience to defend our voting rights. I'm a former member of the Detroit Human Rights Commission. I'm a former referee for the Michigan Civil Rights Department. I have a vocation for advocacy and public service, and I believe that I have a passion for justice. My faith teaches that actions speak louder than words, that faith without works is dead. And so I'm running because I got 2.5 years of valuable experience in education through the people of the city of Detroit, and I want to offer that experience to serve the people of the 43rd District.
Thank you. Next, State Rep Brenda Carter. Why do you want to run or run for re-election? We need
Sorry,
you to-
Tiffany, I'm trying to coordinate. Give me a minute to get this down. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. And Tiffany, thank you for inviting me to this forum. This is really great. I want to run. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm running for re-election because we were able to do some great things in the 100th legislature as far as education is concerned. Right now, I went up there with no idea of how the legislature run bills through on education, how they vote, etc. But we were pleased to have a education committee, which I sit on, that has educators on it. I mean, both sides of the aisle, we have educators. So we're able to look at some of these bills. And although we were not able to get many through, in fact, the only Democratic bill that got through the committee was the one I had for the cursive writing bill. I think it's 4483. So I want to continue the work that we're doing. I work very closely with our education stakeholders, of course, our Democratic, our labor stakeholders. And I just want to continue the work next term. I have a lot of education bills in the hopper. Things, in fact, I've got one coming up right now that's going to deal with A through F, what I'm sponsoring, that rating system. We had a very interesting dialogue last week, well, this week, talking about bills that the other side want to privatize education. So I want to continue the fight with my colleagues. We got a good group right now, and we can make some changes. So if we're able to move where we're in majority next term, we can get a lot of great things done.
Thank you. Next, Tonya Phillips.
All right. Well, just picking up a little bit from my introduction, I'm running because I want to see systemic change happen in my community. I was born and raised in the city of Detroit, lifelong Detroiter, right next door to Hamtramck, and many of the residents of Detroit and Hamtramck have been systemically discriminated against. I'm running to pass laws, join colleagues in passing laws that will improve the quality of life for everyday individuals. I want to see our social safety net strengthened. I think that is critical in this time. We must take measures such as providing for increased paid sick leave, raising the minimum wage, making sure that our workplaces are safe and protected. Now is the time to act. We can't wait. And I have the experience, I have the heart, and I have the compassion to go to Lansing, represent our community, and get those type of changes, which are overdue, and we can't wait any longer. So that's why I want to run and why I want to serve as state representative.
Awesome, thank you. Next is Melandie Hines.
Yes, I'm running for re-election because I believe in children and education. I grew up in Inkster. I went to the Westland Community School District. They had a program called Upward Bound, and that changed my life. I was able to go to college over the summer, travel the world, go to different countries, and learning those skills that helped me to get into my profession. In high school, I worked as a reserve police officer. I got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, a double master's degree in management and human resource management. And having those opportunities in high school lets you know that there is a chance. If somebody believes in you, you have mentors, and you give those kids the proper education, they can be successful citizens. And that's why I'm running. I love children. They're my heart. And I'm just a public servant and dedicated to taking care of my community.
Thank you. Next is Rebekah Coleman.
I was born and raised in the city of Detroit, and I grew up in a household where both of my parents were public servants. My mother, the late April Howard Coleman, was president of the Detroit Public School Board, and my father, Donald Coleman, has been a judge at the 36th District Court for, I believe, 29 years now. So public service has been my lifestyle. And so running for the judicial position would continue in that. And like my slogan, it says, it's time for a change. I've seen many unjust decisions come past in the judiciary. And so I want to be the change that happens in the city of Harper Woods to help the citizens and the residents of Harper Woods, as well as those who travel through Harper Woods, because it's needed.
Thank you. Laurita Bledsoe. Why do you want to run for public office? You need to unmute. And also, if you're watching on Facebook and if you have any questions, please post.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. I want to run because I believe I can bring change. A fresh eyes to an old situation, old systemic views, and that I would bring a change. I would bring honesty. And in Macomb, there's been a lot of corruption, as we know. And so I would bring, definitely demand accountability. I am a servant. I've been on the ground roots, and I've done community service all my life. And so I have a heart for the people, and I will be for the people. This is such a crucial and pivotal time in society right now, and we need change. And so therefore, that's one of the things I would do, is progressively move for equity and equality. Thank you so much.
Going to start with you, Laurita Bledsoe, for the next question. Tell us again which office you are running for and how are you uniquely qualified?
I'm running for trustee of Macomb Township. I'm uniquely qualified because I'm an African-American woman. I'm the only minority that is running for that position. I have owned a minority business. I understand the importance of small businesses, that they cause stability, not only in the community, but economically. I'm a collaborator, I'm an organizer, I'm excellent with organizing. I galvanize various entities. I've done that over years. I know how to work with people and encourage people to work together. I also have been the 6th Ecumenical Women's Chair. I've been the part of the Mayor Being Clergy Task Force for Jobs and Economical Growth. I'm the founder and organizer of God's Anointed, an annual collaborative outreach that we have with governmental entities, businesses, organizations, the philanthropic community, and I'm willing to implement that in my community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. State Rep Brenda Carter, please tell us again your office and how are you uniquely qualified?
Thank you again, Tiffany. My office is the 29th House District. How am I uniquely qualified? I spent 8 years on Pontiac School District Board of Education. 3 of the years I spent on as president. I spent 6 years on the Michigan Association of School Boards, and in 2016-17, I was the president, and that's all the school districts in the state of Michigan. I also did work with the National School Board Association, and I was with them for 6 years on various committees. And internationally, I'm working with Kusatsu Shiga Prefecture, Japan, to continue a school school program that allows children to study abroad. They study in Pontiac or they study in Shiga Prefecture. So I have a thorough knowledge, not to mention prior to coming in Pontiac, coming in politics, I was the state directress for the Elks in education. So I have this very long background in education, which I'd like to see the changes that were mentioned today on this panel. I like to get input from people on the ground floor, like Benton Harbor, like Ecorse, Flint, and of course Detroit, and even in Pontiac, where our school district was put under emergency management. So this is the reason why I want to continue the work to make sure that our voices are heard in the legislature with someone with this depth of experience.
Thank you. Next, we will have Rebekah Coleman. Tell us again the office you're running for and how are you uniquely qualified?
Okay, again, I am running for 32A District Court in Harper Woods, and I'm uniquely qualified because one, I'm a trial attorney. I've had experience in all of the areas that the district court covers. I mainly now practice in criminal law as well as probate law, but occasionally I do bankruptcies as well, Chapter 7. I've tried cases across the state of Michigan, at least 500 cases, and I've handled thousands of cases to finality. I've also practiced in all of the district courts across Wayne County and most of the district courts in Oakland, Macomb, and Washtenaw. So I bring a vast array of knowledge to the practice. And I would be the first African American as well as female to be the judge in Harper Woods. And so I can also bring some insight as well as fairness and not just rubber stamping cases as I've seen in different courts across the state.
Thank you. Board Member Hines, tell us your office again and how are you legally qualified?
Okay, so I'm running for re-election for the Wayne Westland Board of Education. I've been in that office for over 6 years. I have a strong background in criminal justice, behavioral arts and science, a double master's degree in management, human resource management. I have a background in financial services. I've been working in labor relations. I used to work for the union. So with this background, I'm the only board member that's certified that's running for this position out of 10 applicants and the only African American. I also have a level 3 distinction with the Michigan Association of School Boards. So I do a lot in the community. I've passed a $158 million bond, passed teachers' contracts, hired 3 superintendents. So I have a very exceptional knowledge of the background and what it takes to be a successful board member. And I'm very active with my children in the school district and the community.
Thank you. Next is Tonya Phillips.
Hi again, Tonya Myers Phillips, and I'm running for state representative in District 4. I have a lot of factors that make me the best candidate for the position. I'm uniquely suited for this position because as a state representative, you want to send someone there. Our job is to make laws, to repeal laws, to serve as a check and balance on the executive branch, to engage in appropriations. And I've had experience doing those things. I'm a practicing attorney. I've been practicing for 16 years, working in the field for 27 years. I've had experience advocating successfully at the state level. I was active with coalitions in Detroit and throughout the state of Michigan to change the law where if you're behind in your property taxes, you can have 5 years to pay. That took a lot of long hours, a lot of hard work, but I was able to get that done. I've had experience serving in public office before. I served on the City of Detroit Charter Revision Commission from 2010 to 2012. I had the experience of working with constituents throughout the city to shape our city constitution in ways that best serve our community. I've led the first criminal justice community court program in the state of Michigan, where community, court, and law enforcement came together to design interventions for low-level misdemeanor offenders. So I've had experience leading criminal justice forum, which is at the top of the legislative agenda, and making sure that we're working smarter, not harder. I've negotiated community benefit agreements for neighborhood groups against the developers. I've fought against banks, hundreds of them, representing homeowners and tenants in the midst of the foreclosure crisis in the 2000s, and I was able to do that successfully. So I know the law, I'm tough, I have grit, but I also have compassion, and I'm rooted in the community, and I'm looking forward to serving, and my slogan is fighting for us. I will go there and fight for our community and fight for laws that provide all citizens of Michigan with a basic, decent quality of life and treat all with dignity. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Rudy Serra.
Well, I'm Rudy Serra. I'm running for the 43rd District Court, which is Madison Heights, Ferndale, and Hazel Park. I'm the only candidate in the race with 2.5 years of experience on the 3rd busiest trial court in the country. The newly appointed judge, if he gets to the November election by that time, will have 2 years less experience than me, and mine was on the third busiest court in the country. I have 27 years of experience as a licensed social worker, a master's degree in communications, and advanced training in alternative dispute resolution. Very few skills are more important for a judge, aside from legal skills, than communication skills and social work skills. I'm the only candidate in this race who has both criminal and civil jury trial victories. When I lost my reelection in the city of Detroit, I got over 78,000 votes, more than the entire population of the district. More than 5 of my colleagues got reelected, but I was running outside of a pack. So I've experienced loss, and there is nothing that a judge needs more than humility. You have to be humble to follow the decisions of judges who died 10 years before you took the bench. You have to be humble to listen to people and to take them seriously and to be fair to everyone. And the experience of loss, I think, is something that makes me also unique. I'm the only candidate who's been endorsed by the Black Caucus, the only candidate who's a member of the Wolverine Bar Association. I'm the only candidate who's ever been a member of the Association of Black Judges of Michigan and had the opportunity to work with and learn from the Honorable Donald Coleman. I have been endorsed by the Justice Caucus of the Democratic Party, and I'm the only candidate who's ever been on a school board, and I'm as a member of the county commission. So I think that there are a lot of things that distinguish me, and not the least of which is Tiffany Tilley is my friend. I've known her for years, and I've watched her work for years since she was with AmeriCorps, and she's been an inspiration to me.
Thank you. We're going to start with you, Rudy, for the next question.
My top 3.
Yes, what are your top 3 priorities?
Top 3 priorities. Number 1, I'm very tired of seeing the jail used as a solution to our mental health and drug addiction problems. Mental health and drug addiction and alcoholism are diseases. We don't punish cancer. We don't punish diabetes. I strongly support drug courts, veterans courts, homeless courts, and those sorts of creative solutions that allow underserved populations to get a good and a fair hearing. I believe in restorative justice more than retributive justice. I want to see the jail not become a railroad for young people who get a conviction at the district court level that ruins the rest of their lives. I bent over backwards as a judge to avoid giving a first offender a first offense record. And I like to use creative sentencing alternatives to the jail. That's my second priority. My third priority is the protection of the community and the citizens, and especially of victims. I'm a strong believer in victims' rights. I handled a violence docket. I've traveled the country teaching high school and college and community groups about consent in the law and the importance of consent in their relationship with their intimate partners and with their spouses. I believe in community education, and I would continue to be a judge reaching out to my communities to teach them about the law and to try to improve the law. So in summary, my top 3 priorities: number 1, address mental health, drug addiction, and alcoholism issues creatively without punishment. Number 2, go to restorative justice rather than retribution. Emphasize community policing, emphasize making amends, emphasize restitution to victims. And then number 3, protecting the community. That means being fair. If someone commits an offense that warrants jail time, it's possible to put someone in jail and not berate them in public and treat them poorly. Judge Donna Milhouse was my role model as a judge, because Judge Milhouse looked every single person in the eye. She smiled at every single person and said good morning to them by name. I saw other judges who treated people who never even looked up from their desk, wondering if those people ever even knew that the judge was listening to anything that they said. I intend to be, once again, the kind of judge that I was on the 36th District Court. I was rated outstanding. I believe in treating people with courtesy, dignity, and respect, even if they've done something wrong.
Thank you. Next is Tonya Phillips. What will your top 3 priorities be?
Thank you. Thank you again, Tiffany. My top 3 priorities, number 1 is strengthening the social safety net. We are living in unprecedented times, and our first concern should be taking care of the citizens of Michigan and our families, so I think we need to keep measures that have been implemented under the governor's emergency powers. We need to look at how we can transition that into law, because the emergency powers will expire at some point. So we need to pass laws to protect water affordability and water accessibility. Water should be a human right. We need to pass laws that will keep our unemployment eligibility broad. We need to pass laws that will protect people if you have to take care of your family during this COVID crisis, where we do have adequate paid sick leave, and we need to raise the minimum wage. It's overdue. So under that large umbrella of strengthening the social safety net, that would be my first priority. My second priority is access to justice. As an attorney, I've been in and out of the courtrooms for many years, and in many ways, our judicial system fails us because everyone doesn't have equal access to exercise their rights, or I should say equal knowledge of their rights. So on the criminal justice side, I would continue to work on criminal justice reforms. Our task force, there was a task force appointed by the governor last year and made excellent recommendations. We need to make sure that that report doesn't gather dust, but we pass laws to back it up and make sure that we are investing in prevention and not just punishment. On the civil side, I'm a leader in the Right to Counsel initiative in the city of Detroit. That's a movement that's happening nationwide to make sure that low-income persons that are facing eviction have a right to an attorney. And I see that as a housing security issue, as a neighborhood stability issue, and in other ways that we can work together to make sure everyday citizens have access to our courts. And 3, fair economic development. The state of Michigan hands out millions of dollars in incentives every year, multi-millions of dollars of incentives. And we need to make sure that those incentives are narrowly tailored, that our citizens are benefiting, that we're not just passing out rewards to corporations who don't invest in our communities. So I would work to tie those economic development incentives to making sure there are jobs, making sure that there are benefits for our community, stretching those things out so we are increasing monitoring and compliance where so the corporation doesn't get the money up front and then our workers in the community are let go on the 89th day. So I look to restructure some of those economic incentives. So just recapping, strengthening our social safety net, access to justice, and fair economic development for all.
Thank you. Board Member Hines.
Yes, one of my top 3 priorities, my first one, since we have a wonderful new superintendent, John Dignan, I want to go into the portrait of a graduate. I want to make sure our children are career ready, college ready, and life ready. Because some children, they need different like elements of internships, trade schools. I want to help get increase to help them take the ACT and the SATs, improve the scores. They need to be life ready by having like financial budgeting skills and working at the bank. We have programs where we go into the schools and teach them about finance and budgeting. Another part of portrait of a graduate is children need to know how to effectively communicate, be culturally aware, be critical thinkers, creative thinkers, and resilient, and be active citizens in the community. My second goal with COVID going on is to make sure that our children are one-to-one with technology. We have to make sure that all of our children have access to computers and internet. So we need to think outside the box and work with corporations, just as Detroit Public Schools have, to make sure our kids are taken care of, because who's to say what's going to happen with the next pandemic? And third, I definitely want to make sure that we have a balanced budget. It's very scary right now with COVID, and it's draining some of our resources because we're not going to have business taxes like we had before. So as a board member, we just passed our teachers' contracts, and I want to make sure that all of my teachers and staff are able to keep their, benefits that they receive, and be able to have the money to fund these salaries and retirements and, disability, and make sure that our schools are also have adequate technology, air conditioning, safe conditions for our children. So those are really important. So like I said, making sure that our children, 1, the portrait of a graduate, 2, technology, 3, making sure that we balance the budget so that we can ensure that our staff is actively taken care of.
Thank you. Rebekah Coleman.
Okay, so things that I would like to do for the court, one of my priorities would be to increase and improve the technology of the court so that it could be more accessible as well as user-friendly than what it is right now. My second thing would be to create and implement equitable bond criteria so that low-risk offenders are not unnecessarily incarcerated, which will increase the cost to the local units of government and cause family disruptions, as well as disruptions in jobs or job loss completely. And another thing would be developing and implementing alternative programs, such as the mental health program. Now, in Harper Woods, we do have a mental health program, but I would like to change it up a little bit. I have the experience of actually practicing in the mental health court on the district side as well as in the probate division. And so I know that it's still lacking. And so I would have the ability to do more in that area of creating services for individuals that are necessary, as well as developing a drug court and veterans court if needed. And I would also like to bring services for the landlord-tenant division. We need legal aid. Harper Woods is heavily populated with renters, and the landlord-tenant statutes are difficult to interpret. And I know that in pro per people are unable to just come in and adequately represent themselves because many are unaware of all of the rules that go into that division. And so legal aid is definitely needed, and it's a disservice to not have that. So to recap, the technology portion, improving services, and adding criteria for bonds.
Thank you. Brenda Carter.
Yes. What are my 3? When I went into the House last year, number 1 was education. But when I found out that there were so many disparities with working families, our working families, our teachers, our laborers, our construction, any unionized group is under attack. Okay. And when they're under attack, our working families are under attack. It's very important to me to make sure that when these appropriations go in, like our unemployment insurance is going to end soon, our the moratorium on landlords evictions is going to end. In fact, it ended already. And with the HEROES Act not being passed by the Senate, we're facing a huge problem coming up. So number 1 on my list, working families, making sure that there's food on the table, making sure that they have health care, making sure that they have a wage appropriate job. Number 1, okay? That will help number 2, because when our districts are properly funded and they get the money that they need, the school systems, like the census, very important. That money goes into the schools, the hospitals, everything. We have to make sure that our education system is taken care of by having people up there in Lansing and in Washington that are truly educators and know the education system, like you, Tiffany. And number 3, we are going to take a hit with our small businesses. And unfortunately, minority businesses really will take a hit. So I'm advocating, working with the Regional Chamber of Commerce, working with the small businesses, working with the state of Michigan and MEDC to make sure that our small businesses have the funds that they need to deal through this pandemic and also to excel once we come out of it. So number one, working families, making sure they have a seat at the table, making sure their voices are heard, making sure that they're not the victim of this pandemic. Number two, we need to properly fund our education system. There's no reason why we should be dead last in the nation in the state of Michigan. So we need to properly support our teachers, our administrators, our staff members, everybody that deals with our children. And last but not least, making sure that our small businesses, especially our minority businesses, the businesses owned by women, and the businesses owned by veterans are given the funding they need to survive.
Thank you. Laurita Bledsoe.
My three are economic stability is number one, to make sure that we have jobs that can sustain families, so that we would support small businesses, that we would implement programs that would support small businesses for sustainability and advancement. My second one is social diversity, for equity and equality on every level, for affordable health care. And especially out here, diversity is important to be able to assimilate, but also to bring that fresh and new aspect of just the diverse being a different ethnicity. And the third is academically, to move in the technological stage, that we will begin to teach our children so that they will be prepared for this technological and scientific age that we're in. And also getting back to ethnic diversity. A couple of my grandchildren, they have no teachers out here that look like them. And I think that that is really a serious issue. And that every child have access to whatever tools they need in order to have the greatest academic experience that's possible, and to implement, reinforce the anti-bullying law without prejudice, that our children not be bullied when they go to school, because especially when they're a minority, their consequences are more crucial, and they're not taken or treated the same because they are the minority, especially out here where I live at. So the recap is the advancement and sustainability economically, socially, and academically. Thank you.
Thank you. If you've been following me, following my career, you know that I am big on community. I've been a community activist, community organizer for almost 20 years now. I want to ask our candidates, and we'll start with Laurita Bledsoe. What ways have you helped the community, and how will you serve the community once elected?
As I've said before, I have been in community service really all of my life. I've galvanized, I've been an activist, I've co-labored with government entities, the philanthropic community, other organizations, churches. I've worked with the homeless, you name it, from all kinds of walks of people have I worked with and provided services, provided goods, programs, academic services, housing, those kinds of things, because I believe it's only by working together can we all have a better society. I may not have all of it, but you might have the meat and I might have the potatoes. So I believe in galvanizing and using whatever I can to better the community. So I will use my administrative skills, my influence that I have with bringing entities together to be able to provide the best resources that I can for my community, because the people come first. And that's what I am. I'm a public servant. And like I said, I've been doing that all my life. That's where my heart is. Thank you so much.
Thank you. State Rep Brenda Carter, how have you helped the community? And you are already elected. What are you going to do during your next term to further your community service?
Well, Tiffany, once again, thank you for asking that question because I absolutely love my community. I have 5 cities and I have 5 mayors and I'm engaged with every single one of them. But what I also have created, because I realized that there was a deficiency when I came into office, I created 5 task force. These are grassroots task force. The first one was an education task force. The second one dealt with our veterans, our homeless veterans. The third one dealt with homelessness, period. The fourth one dealt with minority health, maternal minority health. Our health is just, we need more resources for health. And number 5 was our criminal justice system. These were grassroots organizations that I created from the ground level that are functioning right now. We are able to go into the nooks and crannies. We're not going to sit back and wait for somebody to come to us and say, we're going to do this for you. Right now, we are operating full force in our community, making sure we get into our senior citizens buildings, our low-income residents. We have people out there right now, and young people, able to reach out to the Jermaine Branners of the to Delia Sharp, who's dealing with gun violence. We're engaging people from 18 to 40 and putting them out there and saying, hey, help us cross this bridge. So the community effort that I have going on in District 29, every single week, we give out food, frozen food, on Wednesdays and Fridays from 12 to 2. And we have all kinds of things. We're working with the local Democratic Club, Pontiac Democratic Club. We are getting into our senior citizens, making sure that they are having nutritious meals, making sure they are having towels, making sure they have all the things that they need. So it is an ongoing full court press. And regardless to the outcome of the election, my community has needs. And I'm making sure that they are at the table to get what they need. And the only way you can do that is be right there with the community, right there involved. It's not something that I pass through every 4 years or every 2 years and say, hey, what can I do to get your attention? No, I'm out there right there with them. And that's where the vote comes back. You know, they see you. I'm not a novelty. They see you. You're engaged. You know, and I want to give a shout out, just a quick shout out to my colleague, somebody I really loved deeply, and that was Isaac Robinson.
Yes.
Representative Isaac Robinson was the same way. I grew up in Hamtramck. I went to Kosciuszko and Copernicus. So when I met Isaac, I was just immediately attracted to him because he has the same values. He's all about the people, all about the people. Anybody that's not about the people, they have to campaign. Thank you, Tiffany.
Thank you. Rebekah Coleman.
Okay, so like I indicated earlier, my life has been about service. I remember early on going to the senior buildings as a child, preparing gifts, taking it to them, as well as performing. I didn't know that that was going to lead into a theater background when I was in undergrad, but yes, I did that, and I still continue to go and do senior luncheons. I've sponsored some I've just participated in. I'm over the arts program at my church where I do different plays as well as dance programs. I do voter registrations. I used to do a yearly camping trip with inner city kids from the city of Detroit. I would like to start that back up, but that might be a little difficult right now with COVID. I've also done many expungement seminars and as well as mentoring young women who are in law school. A lot of, in law school, we learn a lot of things about critical thinking and many things, but we don't learn the practice element. And I know at first I was a little shocked with some of the stuff that, just some of the terminology, some of the way things go in court, the etiquette, things of that nature. And so I vow to at least take 1 or 2 young women who are coming into the legal field under my wings and take them into the court and show them how things are done, so that they won't be as shocked as I was. Grew up in a judge's household, but that still does not give me the practice element. As judge, I will endeavor to transform the court into the people's court by retaining staff, improving access, providing a user-friendly environment to all of the residents in the city. And I will also try to organize a law day where we can litigate cases inside of the schools or other community areas so that we can really get the community involved and provide knowledge, because I was talking with some of the football team and they thought that the court just involved traffic tickets. And so I think that the community really needs to know and have that knowledge about what the district court is about, because it really does touch every area of our day-to-day living. And so it's important for the community to have that knowledge.
Thank you. Board Member Hines, please tell us how you have been involved in your community and what are your plans for your next term to do community service?
Well, the Wayne Westland Community School Districts comprises of 6 cities: Wayne, Westland, Inkster, Romulus, Dearborn Heights, and Canton. So one thing that I was really proud of is I was able to construct a team of 10 people. We had the bond. I believe in Wayne Westland Bond Committee. We were able to pass a $158 million bond unanimously in every city. That way our children have air conditioning, we have technology for phones, security, safeties, and just upgrading the building. So I was really proud about that. Being on the board, I've been there 6 years. My first year on the board, we had a fund balance of about maybe 4%, and being on the board in 6 years, now we have a surplus. So now we have a fund balance of 11%. So we have had a balanced budget. Community service wise, I have been involved in the Chamber of Commerce. I was a mentor in the Wayne Champions program. So I went to high schools and mentored children at the schools. I'm on the praise and dance committee at church. I do a lot at the bank. We have a young bankers program where we go into Detroit public schools and help children learn about finances. So I am so fired up about this new year. Like I said, we have a new superintendent. Even though we have COVID, we're going to be successful. And like I said, I have dedication. I've been a precinct delegate for 8 years. Like I said, I've been with the congressional district, helping people get elected. And I am so big on mentoring programs because like the new judge said, because she's going to be that judge, is that we need to teach our kids etiquette. We need to teach them about laws, different careers, different professions. So like I said, I'm just a public servant. I've been a reserve police officer in high school. My husband was a police officer. My father-in-law was a police officer. And my son wanted to be a police officer. With the Black Lives Matter movement, if we had more African-American males at the police department, maybe that could be part of the change. So I am so excited. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And we're going to have a great 2020.
Thank you. Tonya Phillips. What ways have you helped the community and how will you serve the community once elected?
Well, I've been helping and serving for a long time. That's just how I'm wired. That is how I am fulfilled and have purpose in life, by serving others. And I went to law school initially because I believe that the law can be used as a tool for social and economic justice, to obtain that for communities and individuals that have been marginalized and oppressed. So that's why I went to law school. And when I graduated from the University of Michigan Law School, I came right back to Detroit at a time where it wasn't cool, it wasn't rebounding. Some people didn't agree with my decision, but I knew Detroit is where I needed to be and where I wanted to serve. And I came to Detroit. I started working on enforcing the living wage ordinance that was in effect at that time. I've worked and represented hundreds of individuals facing illegal evictions and foreclosures and helped keep them in their homes. I've been working and negotiating with community groups for fair and equitable development to secure community benefits agreements. During this time of crisis, I've provided and helped organize many food drives to provide basic necessities in our community. I was active and worked with Rep. Robinson before he passed. He made the call early on in the pandemic for a moratorium on evictions and a moratorium on utility shutoffs. And I joined him in that and joined others in that and have been working feverishly behind the scenes and providing recommendations for that moratorium and safe reopenings of our courts. So I've been working and helping individuals. I've been working on a programmatic level and on a policy level for many years, and I'll continue to do that. And as a state representative, I want to work hand in hand. I will continue to work hand in hand with our community leaders, with our block club leaders. We need a block club agenda. The agenda of the block and our neighborhoods needs to be heard in Lansing. So I will continue to be accessible, to be transparent, and to work hard to fight for our neighbors and our community. So I'm just going to keep it up, Tiffany. Thank you for asking the question.
Thank you. Rudy, Serra, what ways have you helped the community and how will you serve the community once elected?
While I was still in law school, I worked as a community organizer for the Neighborhood Service Organization in the city of Detroit. As an attorney, I was the chairman of the Royal Oak Township Downtown Development Authority. I helped to make that unit the most successful economic development project in the state of Michigan for that 99% African-American community. I was the first openly gay member of the Oakland County Commission, and as a county commissioner, representing communities with a record of systemic racism, I personally drafted and petitioned for the first comprehensive civil rights ordinance in the city of Ferndale. At that time, the result was death threats and harassment. Rosa Parks said, "Today's mighty oak is yesterday's nut that stood its ground." Today, people admire and applaud advocacy for civil rights. At that time, courage to defend our civil rights. As a judge, when I began my term, the clearance rate, the cases resolved within 1 year on the 36th District Court was 65%. During my term, it rose to 95%. I volunteered to work weekends more often than any other judge. I routinely completed 2 dockets a day, sometimes 3. I helped to select a new magistrate, Millicent Sherman. No individual can take full responsibility for that kind of a change in clearance rate. But I served my community because I loved my job and I did it with diligence. Today, I'm the president of the Fern Care Free Medical Clinic. There are no residency requirements to come to Fern Care. People from anywhere in Michigan can be our patients as long as they have no health insurance, including no Medicaid. And we are the only free clinic in the entire region that is currently still accepting new patients. As chairman of the Executive Clemency Council for the Advisory Council for the state of Michigan, I personally reviewed thousands of requests for clemency, commutation, and pardon from prisoners, including multitudes of young African-American men who had been sentenced to life in prison for nonviolent drug crimes. And I'm proud of that work. As a member of the Michigan Supreme Court Standard Jury Instruction Committee, I helped to write the law in a way that was understandable to the average person so that when you serve on a jury, you know what the law is. I've been a volunteer at the South Oakland Shelter. I've been a celebrity reader as a school board member with elementary school students, and to this day, am a frequent speaker at classes. I'm eager to accept invitations from college and high school classes to talk about the law and things that need to be improved in the law and the vocation of law. I believe that public service is an honorable profession. Some people say all politicians are crooks, and I know when they say that they don't know all politicians. I believe that that the work that we do is honorable service to our community. And I've served my community both before I was a lawyer, before I was a judge, and after I was a judge. I look forward to the opportunity to do it again.
Thank you. We have one last question for our candidates. And that question is, and we're going to start with Rudy, Serra for that. And the question is, what's your leadership style and how will you best serve your constituents?
Well, you know, Dr. King said everybody can be great because anybody can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. My leadership style is a collaborative leadership style. I don't want to micromanage people. When two grown-up lawyers come to my court and they agree that they need to adjourn a case, that they need more time, I feel, who am I to tell them that they're wrong? My leadership style is one of wanting to be seen and wanting to behave, not as a ruler, but as a public servant. I want the people who come to my courtroom to know that they've been heard, that they've been treated fairly, and that they've been treated with dignity and respect, even if that means that, you know, they have to be held accountable and pay consequences for bad acts. My leadership style is the style of a person who likes to be part of a team. And one of the things that I enjoyed as a district judge is my clerk, my court officer, my court reporter. We were a team. And I purposely and very consciously hired people who treated members of the public with the same respect and courtesy that I expected.
Thank you. Next, Tonya Phillips.
Well, I would say my leadership style, I have a servant leader style. I'm a servant. You know, I put the needs of others before my own personal needs. You know, I get in there, I work hard for my clients, I work hard for my community. You know, I don't need a lot of fanfare. People who know me know that a lot of times I'm kind of quiet, actually. And you know, one of my nicknames has been Quiet Storm. But I'm very humble. I'm very patient. I'm a good listener, and I just want to put the needs of the community first. That's number one. And I'm a servant. And I come to individuals and ask, what do you need? You know, what is your perspective? How can I be of assistance to help you? You know, so I don't come in presuming to know all the answers. You know, I have a great deal of technical skills, and I'm very thankful for that, but it isn't for me. It isn't just for my personal gain. You know, I want to know, how can I be of assistance? How can I help? It doesn't matter to me who you are, you know, age, class, race, sex, gender, doesn't matter. I am here to serve. And that's my motivation. That's all I want to do. And that's reflected in my leadership style.
Thank you. Board Member Hines. What's your leadership style and how will you best serve your constituents or continue to serve?
Well, my leadership style is being collaborative. It's very important to have trust and honesty and treat all of your employees with fairness. You definitely don't want to jump to conclusions. It's very important to make sure you have all the facts before you make decisions. I work really well with my union. I'm very honest and upfront if something comes up. Even with my superintendents, we have a new one, and I told John, whatever he needs, I'm there for him. That's my job, is to support my superintendent for whatever he needs. I definitely like to make sure that I'm really organized and really good at, like I said, managing money. I have a human resources background in labor relations, so therefore I'm pretty well versed in employment law. So that's very important, being a board member in the district, because you don't want to get caught up in unnecessary litigation. To continue to serve my community, I am very big on making sure we have outreaches. One thing that I like that the superintendent Dignan talked about was maybe like in some of these apartment complexes having tutoring services. So if the kids can't come to us, let's come to them. So he has some very awesome out of the box solutions. And I tend to have my platform for reelection measured next to what he's planning on doing. So that way we can all work together as a team to make a better district. So I'm very excited about reelection. I have two lovely women that are running with me, and I'm going to help them along the way. because we have to make sure our children are successful because they are the future.
Thank you. Rebekah Coleman, what's
Okay.
your leadership style and how will you best serve your constituents?
Well, having completed my MBA in 2014, I'm grateful to be the only person in this race with a background in leadership training as well as business operations. As such, I'm committed to proactive leadership that operates from the position of a vision-driven mission statement that is accompanied by a plan of implementation. So the vision and its implementation requires capacity training of staff and community stakeholders. So basically, my style, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I wasn't on the camera. I was looking down. So basically, my style is to develop a mission statement that's driven by a vision, an improvement of, and a plan for that implementation. Okay, so I'm committed to my stakeholders, which include community leaders, staff, funding units, whether it be private or public, and anyone else who interfaces with the court process. And I'm committed to training and creating an atmosphere of forward-thinking individuals and continuous improvement. And I view all participants as partners, because essentially that's what we are if we're going to have an ongoing engagement in creating the best type of environment for everyone.
Thank you. State Rep Brenda Carter, what's your leadership style and how will you continue to use it to serve your constituents?
Thank you. My leadership style is collaborative. I'm a team player, a bridge builder, and I'm one who will empower others to reach out and reach their goals. So that's how I plan on doing it with my task force. I have 5 of them, as I mentioned earlier, which are all driven and led by community stakeholders, grassroots people that generally don't have a seat at the table and their voices are not heard. The 6th one we're about to bring on is economic development, once again, because we see there's a shortage in the community of equitable funding for small businesses. So that'll be the 6th one. And just reaching out to these community stakeholders and letting them know that they're important to the process, that they can bring something to the table. A lot of the things that my task force have done have already reached the governor's office. And some of them, like the Minority Health Task Force, HR 123, that made it all the way to the governor's office and in her State of the State speech. So it's a lot of things that we can do, but the biggest thing is that we have to include everyone. Everyone's voice is important. You don't have to be a rock star to have your voice heard.
Amen. Thank you. Laurita Bledsoe.
Yes. Thank you for asking that question. I've been listening. I think I have a combination leadership style, and I'm an ambassador. I'm a collaborator. I have the Harriet Tubman spirit and the Apostle Paul spirit. So I am definitely a barrier breaker. And I believe in bringing people along with me. I believe in teaching people, training people, supporting people, bridging the gap. I believe it's only when we work together do we get things done, do we all win? As one said, teamwork makes the dream work. I believe in that. I welcome creativity and innovation because I'm a patented inventor myself. And I just believe in encouraging people to be the best they can be, at the same time, getting the objectives done. We need, I'm a goal oriented person. So whatever our objectives are, I believe in making the guidelines, the structure, and the information clear to people so they may take the vision and run with it. So that's the kind of leader I am. I will implement those kinds of concepts in the community to bring a synchronization, that there will be a galvanizing together so that we can make the best and do the best we can do collaboratively as a unit in the community. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Oh, and I want to say one more thing. I love you, Tiff.
I love you too. Thank you. We are going to go into closing statements. And so you will have 2 minutes each to do your closing statements. And we are going to start with Laurita Bledsoe.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. As I said before, I am going for trustee of Macomb Township. My mindset is to bring a freshness there, as well as just to be innovative as much as I can be. I would strategically and progressively strive for equity and equality, for economic, academic, social, and technological advancement for all my constituents. And of course, affordable health care. I am a senior and I am concerned because as a senior, I'm paying for Medicare, but then I'm paying for this other supplement. And I'm like, okay, how did this really help me? Because now I think I'm coming out of more money than I did before that. So I'm very concerned about what's going on economically as well as academically. And so those are things that I will really focus on as I become the trustee of Macomb Township, to work diligently for my community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. State Rep Brenda Carter.
Okay, thank you so much. This has been a great forum to participate in, to explain. We have diversity here as far as Wayne County, Oakland County, and I'm sure there's others out there who are aspiring for their seats and been doing the work in their communities for a long time. In other words, you know, I mentioned earlier that if you get inside of your community, if you get inside your nooks and crannies, people will vote for you because your record will speak for it's, you know, your record will speak for itself. So as far as out here in Oakland County, I'm pleased to have a district, Auburn Hills, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, Orchard Lake Village, and Pontiac, where I work with my mayors, where I work with my council people, where I'm inside of the nooks and crannies, and they support me, they uplift me, and it's just a beautiful thing. So, you know, I guess the only thing I can say is that God is good. You know, he's going to look out for his children, and we just keep on marching. Just keep on marching in the vein of John Lewis, in the vein for his memory and what he stood for. We must keep going. Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Next will be Rebekah Coleman.
Again, thank you, Tiffany, for having me on this forum this evening. Again, my name is Rebekah R. Coleman. I'm running for judge of the 32A District Court. It's time for change. I'm going to bring fairness, experience, accountability, and insight. And I'm asking that everyone come to the polls. I was in a forum not too long ago about voting rights. It's vitally important that we all exercise our right. I can't press that any harder. During my father's lifetime, African Americans were not able to vote. So that shows how recent this right has become for all of us. And so it's vitally important for us to get out and exercise our right. Again, I'm asking for your vote so that we can make a change in the city of Harper Woods. It's time for the first woman to be the judge of the city, as well as the first African American. Thank you, and you all have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you. Board Member Melandie Hines.
I'd like to thank you, Tiffany, for letting me be on this forum. It's really opened my eyes. I've met some really awesome candidates. I wish good luck to everybody that's on this call. You guys are going to be successful. Again, my name is Melandie Hines. Melandie Hines. I'm running for the Wayne Westland Board of Education re-election. They said say the name 3 times so people can remember it. I am an advocate of education. I'm an advocate of making sure that our children have a future. Like I said, the portrait of a graduate, we must make sure our children are career ready, life ready, and college ready. We have to give them the tools to be successful citizens. We have to work on our social and emotional skills for our children, because after COVID, they're going to have a lot of trauma. So we need to definitely make sure we get these counselors in these schools. We need to make sure our children have food. unfortunately, with this COVID situation, there are a lot of children that are not able to get meals. So we have to make sure we supply the food, we supply technology, that we have computers, internet access, and we must definitely figure out a way, because there are parents that cannot stay at home during this pandemic. And we have to figure out a way for those people who need to go to work to put their children in a safe environment as well. So those are things that we are working on. And like I said, I believe in Wayne Westland. I hope you believe in me. Vote for me this November. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Tonya Phillips.
Wow. Thank you so much again, Tiffany, for having this. You are amazing. I salute your leadership. Thank you for introducing us and connecting us. I have a lot of new folks whose campaigns I'll be following and supporting now. So best wishes and blessings to everyone. My closing words, it's time, I've heard several candidates mention that it's time for change. This is a very unique moment in our history. These are unprecedented times that we're living in, and we have a choice. We can make a decision on how we value our community, how we value human life. We can't staying neutral is not an option. We have to move forward, or we have to go backwards. I'm a fighter. I have a proven history and record of fighting and winning for our community, and I will do that in Lansing. I will not let the residents of District 4 down. I will not let my colleagues down. Our former state rep, Isaac, we went to high school together. I love him dearly, dearly, as so many people did, and you can count on me to continue the work that he started, the work that he worked on, that I assisted in working on, and making sure that our residents are provided for. I will fight to strengthen this social safety net. I will provide and fight for access to justice and fair economic development. So you can count on me to get the job done. Look at my record, look at my history, and know that I will fight for you, fight for our residents here. Feel free to go to my website, TonyaMyersPhillips.com. I'm also on Facebook at Tonya Myers Phillips. That's my page. Let's keep in touch. Let's collaborate. Let's seize the moment. Let's seize the moment and make these times work for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rudy, Serra.
I'm extremely impressed with everyone that I've heard tonight, and I see a common spirit that doesn't surprise me given all of our relationships with Tiffany Tilley. I believe that I've been called to do justice, to love mercy, and to act with humility like a servant and not like a ruler or as a superior. In 2006, the Detroit Metropolitan Bar Association, the people who were actually in my courtroom, rated me outstanding. That means that I'm one of the best available lawyers or judges that could be chosen for judicial service, that I have a widely recognized reputation for integrity, for fairness, for honesty, and for courtesy. And I'm very proud of that sort of rating. I'm a recipient of the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Freedom Award, the Spirit of Detroit Award. In 2002, I had the privilege of carrying the Olympic torch in the Winter Olympic Torch Marathon. Unlike any other candidate in my race, I've been a juror in the 43rd District, a public defender in the 43rd District, and I have 2.5 years of experience as a judge. No other candidate comes to this position with that experience or with the educational background that I have. Part of acting humbly and not as a superior is inviting help when you need it. With about a week until the election, I still have yard signs. I still have literature to be distributed. Anyone who is sharing in this program tonight who would be interested in volunteering to help, I would welcome your doing so. Again, my website is rudyserraforjudge.com. My name is Rudy Serra, RUDYSERRA, and there's a Facebook page for Rudy Serra for Judge. I'm not running because I need a job. I've done this job. I love this job. This will be my last opportunity to serve as a judge. And so again, I'll be in a position where there'll be no pressure, conscious or unconscious, to raise money, to be popular, or to worry about being reelected. I've never been a prosecutor or a police officer. I have no unconscious tendency to identify with people in those roles. And I'm proud of having been endorsed by the Black Caucus, the Justice Caucus, and by Tiffany Tilley. Thank you again, Tiffany, for the opportunity to share with you tonight. And I hope that all of you do well, and I wish you all of you the best.
Thank you. I want to thank each of you for joining me for this virtual candidates forum during COVID. Pastor Laurita Bledsoe, State Rep Brenda Carter, Attorney Rebekah Coleman, Board Member Melandie Hines, Attorney Tonya Phillips, and Attorney Rudy Serra. These are some of the candidates that I am proud to endorse. I feel like they have not only the background professionally, but the heart for the community and the heart to serve. And I really, truly believe that they will do you well. So please consider voting for them. Please consider supporting them in their campaigns, and definitely continue to watch them as they continue to serve you in your community throughout the years, because this is not something that they just are doing for a moment. This is not something they're just getting into. This is something that they have been doing and will continue to do. So thank you all for watching, and thank you all for joining. Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Rebekah,
Bye.
please
Good
convey
one.
greetings to
Good
the
evening.